The frequently asked question for today's video is, why is my computer so slow while I'm using applications? Well, generally speaking, it just boils down to one primary cause, and that is that your system resources are maxed out. You're trying to do more than your computer can handle. And what system resources? What does that mean exactly? I know I brought that up a couple times in previous videos. Well, the first is RAM, and RAM stands for Random Access Memory. And RAM is basically a playground where your applications can run. Because basically, applications just do a lot of math, they do a lot of computations, and they need room to do their thinking. So the more RAM you have installed, the more room there is for thinking. And so that means you can run more applications at the same time. And that means that the more RAM you have, the larger files or the larger computations your programs can actually work with. And this really comes key into multimedia, especially video, editing, pictures, music. Second piece of system resources that we're talking about here is your CPU, your central processing unit. And this is your dung 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 Intel Inside stuff. This is the CPU. The CPU is the brain of your computer. Like its name says, it does all of the processing. Because what happens is your applications, they issue a bunch of commands. Do this and do that. Here's a really good example. Let's talk about a video that you record on your camcorder, and you want to take that from your camcorder and put it on your PC so you can edit it, right? Well, in order to put it on the computer, you have to encode that video into a digital format. And so what happens is, as soon as you start the encoding process, that software issues the command to actually do the encoding, and your CPU does all the processing. It does all the heavy working. It does all those computations to make the encoding possible. So it really boils down to this: the faster CPU you have, the faster it can accomplish those tasks. And another really cool thing that's going on right now is now they have dual core and even quad core CPUs. And what that means is you have one chip, like in the picture here, that is basically 2 or 4 processing units inside one chip. And so the more cores you have in your CPU, the faster it'll get things done, as well as more tasks it can take on. Your CPU is a finite part of your computer. It's limited in how much it can do at once, right? Well, every application that you have needs the CPU. Even the calculator, even the little applications like that, they all stand in line to use the CPU. And even though it might only be for a second or a nanosecond for the CPU to take care of the processing, there's still an order. If you're sending all kinds of things to the CPU at once, so if you have like a ridiculous amount of programs open at once, the line is just going to get huge. And that's your computer slowing down. So it's important to not overload the CPU. And then also there's your hard disk drive. And your hard drive, we'll just call it that for short, is the storage function. It stores all the files on your computer. So it's interesting to watch Windows work, because it's constantly writing data to your hard drive to store it, and it's constantly retrieving data. Whenever you open a file, it has to retrieve data off the hard drive. This constant back and forth. And as you run out of space on your hard drive, you're going to run into problems. It's a finite piece of resource. And also, it's important to have a healthy hard drive, because the slower that the physical drive performs, the more noticeable you'll see it on your screen. So those are the 3 key pieces of system resources. Now let's talk about what really goes on when your computer starts to bog down. What's happening is your system resources are usually being stolen. Most people have adequate computers to do what they want to do, generally speaking, at least the computers that I look at. But what happens is resources are getting hijacked by what I consider illegitimate software. Now, this is how I look at software, and this is how I recommend you look at software. I put software into two categories. I like to keep it simple. One is legitimate software. And legitimate software are applications that provide value to me. They either help me get my work done, or they help me communicate with my friends and family, or they help provide me with entertainment, that sort of thing. And then illegitimate pieces of software are little pieces of software that somehow get installed that offer no value. And if a piece of software is installed and offers no value, then it's just stealing system resources. And an example of that is your malicious infections. Obviously, adware and spyware and viruses, they have no value. And so let's look at it strictly from the scope of this video. Put all this security concerns aside. Adware, spyware, viruses, they're worthless. And so in the scope of computer performance, all they're doing is leeching and siphoning off those precious system resources. Now, there's also what's called background processes. And some applications have background processes, like we talked about antivirus software and firewall software. They obviously have background processes because you don't see it running on your screen, but you know that it's scanning for viruses and intrusions and those sort of things. That's what a background process does. By far, though, Windows itself has the most background processes, and some of them are just really dumb and things that you'll never even use. And Windows, if it starts up all these background processes and you don't need them, they don't offer any value, well, they're hogging up system resources too. And in our tune-up videos, we're actually going to break apart all of the little background processes that are out there. So I'm not going to talk about what they are right now. Just know that we're going to cover those. If you were to look at it right now, you'd be surprised at what is really going on in the background without you even knowing it. Eliminate the stuff that doesn't offer any value. Speed up your computer. Now, how can you check to see if you have processes and malicious software that are stealing system resources? Well, you use the Windows Task Manager utility. And this is a really great utility because it has graphs and charts, and it'll tell you have 50% of your CPUs being used right now, and then it'll drop down to 20 and then jump up to 70, because things are always happening. It'll tell you how much of your RAM is being used, but what I really love about it is that it breaks down every process that's running, and it'll tell you how much of CPU it's using, how much of RAM it's using. It's just a beautiful thing. That way, when you see, uh-oh, my CPU is 100% maxed out, no wonder my computer's dogging right here, you can break it out and say, you are the one that's taking 50% of my CPU. And then you can say, what the heck are you? And what's also really cool about the Task Manager is you can end the process and shut it down right there. So take a look at the Task Manager if you haven't used it before. The easiest way to get to it is to hold down Control, Shift, and Escape. Again, that's Control, Shift, and Escape. And take a look at it. Get yourself familiar with it. We've got a video dedicated just to the Task Manager and how to decipher what it means. And we also have another video talking about which background processes you need to keep. And we're even going to show you how to prevent background processes that you don't need from ever even starting up. It's a beautiful thing. Can't wait to get there with you. And so now you know what's going on when your applications are just dogging you. I want to thank you for tuning into today's video, and just a quick reminder, you can catch all 20 videos in the Digital Survival series by going to gotslowcomputer.com. Until then, we'll see you on the next video.